Welcome, one and all, to, you know it by now, Behind the Screen. This is episode 95, and as much as I'd love to drag this out for another 4 episodes so that I finish the series on episode 99 and start the next series on episode 100, because I've got something very special planned for the next series, I'm probably not going to do that. That just doesn't seem fun to me, and it probably won't be fun to you. So, yeah, won't be doing that. But important reminders that I don't speak for Onyx Path. This project is not official material. All views and opinions expressed are my own, and this material, the material I'm discussing today, and has formed the entirety of this series, will be available to buy on the StoryPath Nexus eventually. I'm merely a grateful fan with a platform. I am disabled. I do experience muscle spasms that can affect the muscles of my jaw and throat, which can lead me to stutter and slur my speech. If this becomes a problem, which it might, because it's really quite warm here in the UK right now, I may just have to end the stream early, but we'll see how it goes. I do also struggle with multiple trains of thought. I will try to finish what I'm talking about before starting any new topics. If you raise the question in chat, I'll try to acknowledge it to let you know I've seen it. Finish up what I'm talking about and then loop back around to your question. However, I'm tired because of the aforementioned heat here in the UK right now. So my brain is approximately 30% mush already. So we'll just have to see how well my brain works and cooperates today. I'll do my best to keep things coherent and cogent. But if I can feel my cognitive abilities slipping and the brain fog creeping in, I'll just end the stream. Hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. I do have a fan pointed right at me. Speaking of, I need to fix my fan. 1 second. Okay, fan is fixed. At some point it got knocked and the head went whoop and pointed at the floor. I didn't think it was as cool as it should be in here. Or on this side of my body. Yeah, so I'll end the stream if I have to. I think that's kind of it. This series, as mentioned, is about Trinity Continuum Adventure, and we are nearing the end. I anticipate this being maybe the last episode. There's maybe one more episode of content to come, but I wouldn't be too hopeful about that. I need to decide A, if I'm doing pre-gens with this, and B, if I'm going to do them on stream. I did pre-gens on stream recently, so probably won't do them on stream if I do provide them with this adventure, because I don't like repeating content too soon. But we'll see how that all goes. Just checking out before the show notes. Nope, I think we're all good on that front. Okay, right then. Where is the Twitch chat? There's the Twitch chat. Important thing as ever, as always, if you want to know how things are in the Onyx Path world, the Monday meeting notes are the best place to go for that information. And the notes this week, huge focus on the next crowdfunding campaign. That is this Thursday as of time of recording. So if you're watching this in video on demand, it's probably already started. Thursday, July the 16th, over at Backer Kit at 2 p.m. Eastern, so that's what, 7 p.m. UK time? GMT, British Summer Time, BST. The next crowdfunding campaign will be Lair of the Rat Kings, a campaign source book for the Realms of Pugmire. This is the underneath themed source book with psionics, mice, and rats. And more information on everyone's favourite white-furred cult. Eddie goes into some detail about what's in the book over on the Monday meeting notes, but I think I'm okay to let you all know that, once again, my skills were called upon to convert monsters from 1st edition to Realms of Pugmire. And I did. I did my job. Congratulations, go me. I also provided some bespoke stat blocks for just generic NPCs or GCs, guide characters, I guess, as well as the titular Rat Kings themselves. And some of it, you know, I might be patting myself on the back here, but I think some of it is some of my best monster design work for Pugmire. So please do check that out if you're interested. That is, again, Thursday the 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Which is good, because Wednesday's release is Pugmire Unleashed, which was a book I also wrote monsters for. So go check that out on Drive-Thru RPG. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Scrolling through important things to note that Christmas in July starts over on Drive-Thru RPG on Wednesday as well. So if you're missing any Onyx Path PDFs and want to pick those up, please do check those out. And if you're a Savage Worlds, a Scarred Lands fan, the Scarred Lands Player's Guide for Savage Worlds is now out to Kickstarter backers. So that's pretty cool. Matthew Dawkins and Travis are designing the first original Scarred Lands campaign for Savage Worlds in the Gluttonhold Gambit, chronicling, quote, the horrifying resurgence of Golrak the Gorger, titan of consumption, corruption, and insatiable appetite. So if you're interested in Scarred Lands, check that out. Or don't. I'm not your parent. Those are the big news items. The minor news, it's all relative, I suppose. The Twitch schedule for this week. Me now, obviously. Congratulations, you've made it. All these times are in Eastern Daylight. Accursed in Boston at 7 p.m. tomorrow. That is Wednesday the 15th. Thursday the 16th at 3 p.m. Guiding the Path with Tom Moore. It's basically this show, but the practical rather than the theory. And then Monday at 9 p.m. Trinity Continuum Adventure Circus. The channel's getting a lot of adventure love at the minute, although that is likely to change. And if you missed it last week, the Branch Riders Facilitators Guide was the book on sale. PDF and print on demand on Drive-Thru RPG. So, what is this Trinity Continuum Adventure? I keep screaming about into the microphone. It is a D10 based system that uses the StoryPath system. Not StoryPath Ultra. StoryPath. And it is suitable for games of pulp action taking place around 1920s, 30s, 40s, etc. Think Indiana Jones or Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World, things of that vein, and you're in the right ballpark. And the general gist of it is, on your character sheet you have a selection of attributes and a selection of skills, and every dice roll, more or less, is a combination of skill plus attribute. You roll that number of 10-sided dice. It tells you how many dice roll, because you just add dots. You roll that number of 10-sided dice. An 8, 9, or a 10 is a success. This is very reductive, of course. And if you have enough successes to meet the difficulty of the action, usually 1, 2, 3, or 4, you succeed at the action. Congratulations. You've done the thing. If you fail, you don't succeed at the action, but you usually get some kind of recompense for failing. Often this is a meta resource called momentum, which is shared between all player characters. There's more to it, obviously, including the fact that player characters in Trinity Continuum Adventure are most often superheroic and superhuman don't really convey the vibe, but better than the normal person is at doing what they do. Thanks to I just realized I hadn't zoomed in on the Word document for you all. Thanks to shenanigans, making them just naturally better and giving them access to more abilities than the average person. The adventure I'm handling right now, the adventure I'm writing, is intended as an introductory adventure. And over the course of the last 9 episodes of this series, I have written an entire adventure. It's currently at 4,500 words. That is likely to change with editing, obviously. This is all first draft and subject to change. But I have expounded more on, or not even expounded, repeated my theory about what makes a good introductory adventure and how to lay those out, structure them. That's what I'm looking for. How to structure introductions to role-playing, introductions to role-playing game systems that people may not be familiar with, or game lines that they may not have played before. I'm not going to go over that. I'm not going to repeat that again. I don't need to. That's all on YouTube. It's available at youtube.com/@ComRoomBubbles if you want to watch the previous 9 episodes of the show. Today, we're talking about Antagonist design because I've done the adventure. Now we just need the appendix full of the stat blocks. I would always advise including bespoke antagonists in your StoryPath games, because the antagonist is how you, as the author, designer, creator, call it what you will, convey more of the... Sorry, I'm just trying to sort out my PDF. World through it in a more active manner, right? A lot of obviously GMing, story guiding, forgive me, is you frame a scene, the players do something, the scene changes in reaction to them doing something. It's a different kind of active participation, I suppose, but it's more reactive. Like, your main active participation is this is the scene as it stands when you enter it. And then everything else, all of your narration from that point on is a reactive process, working ideally with the players to produce a story that everyone has fun with, everyone enjoys and has fun with at the table. So I'm just going to the antagonist chapter in the core rulebook. Whereas antagonists and supporting story guide characters are more of an active way for you to insert your, oh god, let's get some fancy words in, authorial intent into the world. The choices that you make when you make characters, and particularly what they can and cannot do allow you to influence the narrative in a hand on the scale kind of way. But usually for the better. Obviously, it's very easy to make an antagonist that the player characters can't deal with, right? Or a story guide character that is just a complete self-insert and the best at everything ever. The key is to make characters that feel grounded and believable in the setting, and also that the players are invested in. Obviously, if you just want a background character that's never going to show up again, sure, whatever. They don't need much thought put into them. A name is ideal, obviously, and maybe a personality trait. But if you want a character to be recurring, and I'm well aware that the characters I'm writing, that I'll be creating today, will not be recurring SGCs in any way, shape, or form, unless you choose for them to be. But when you want a character to be recurring, you need the players to be invested in that character. Sorry, it's very hot. I may have mentioned that. The joke is, I know I've mentioned it. So the easiest way to do that from this character is an ally point of view is obviously get them emotionally invested. Have the character know something useful for the players, or have access to resources that the player... Sorry, know something useful for the player characters. Have something useful for the player characters that the player characters need, but also just have, people are flawed. Have them flawed in a similar way to one of the player characters, so that they have a shared understanding of the world and how you can navigate it. Or if they're not flawed in the same way to one of the players, have them genuinely be interested in the player characters. Have them have the story guide character work on building that relationship, because as story guides, sometimes it's very easy to fall into the trap of you're the player characters. Like, I'm building the world, I'm doing everything in response to you. It's on you to put the time and effort into building relationships with my characters. But friendships don't work that way. Sometimes people go, I want to be your friend, and I'm going to put in the effort to do that. And obviously, if the player characters aren't interested, you can probably pick up on those cues or just ask them. And if they're not interested, just drop that thread. But sometimes showing the player characters that not only does the world react to them, but the world cares about them, is a great way of giving them that emotional investment, and also just getting their input when designing characters. Easier said than done, depending on the game system you're playing. But when it comes to StoryPath games, if you have, and again, this is not something I'll be doing today, so it's just useful contextual information. If you create your character, and we'll get around to how to do that momentarily, but you don't define all of their dice pools, ask a player what this story guide character's one of this story guide character's dice pools should be, and then use that to inform how they interact with the world and the characters. Because for StoryPath and for most games, but for StoryPath in particular, a character's action pools are divided into primary. It's what they do well. They probably have a lot of practice. It's probably their day job, or they put the time and effort into training it. Their secondary action pool, it's just skills they have. It might come up, it might not. They use them occasionally. And then desperation pool, everything else. And having a player character define, say, a primary action pool, define a primary action pool, gives you some indication like that is that player giving you direction for the character and helping to inform your portrayal of that story guide character. Someone whose primary action pool is, lost in the stacks for a librarian, for example. It will be a very different librarian to master of the database. Lost in the stacks to me implies that they go out into the library, they go through the stacks, they get lost in the search for knowledge, things of that nature. Whereas master of the database is very much more a tech-based role, probably good with computers, probably wouldn't know what to do if you let them loose in the middle of the archives and spun them around a couple of times and shut the door. That example got away from me. Point being, player buy-in is important for story guide characters, and there are a couple of ways you can do it, and those are those couple of ways that immediately spring to mind. Obviously, as you hone your craft as story guide writer, designer, whatever you want to call it, you will find other ways, and that you will find that there are other opinions on the internet, gasp, shock, horror, than my own. Most of them are as valid. Some of them are just people trying to create controversy, rage bait, etc. But there are many different ways to be a story guide, and I truly hope that you find the one that works best for you. Which brings me to today's stream after 17 minutes and 50 seconds. SGCs and antagonists for this adventure, and why you should, I've mentioned why you should include them. But it's on top of the aforementioned point that they're your primary way of being more of an active participant in the world beyond scene framing. After a story guide has run your adventure, what use does it have, really? I mean, sure, it helps tell a great story. I'm not saying that is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that is a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. Just the active collaborative storytelling and the joy that brings most people should be celebrated wherever you encounter it. But you might, if you are trying to do community content as a... Just notice the background removal, it's not enjoying anything that's happening right now. It's probably my black t-shirt on the black computer chair. I lost my train of thought. Yes, if you're trying to do community content as a way of earning a little money here and there, or if you want to go into homebrew writing or tabletop writing in general, you need a reason for everyone to be interested in your work and not just people looking for adventures, right? So, obviously, this is all huge grain of sand. What works for me may not work for you, vice versa. But my thought is always, if you produce an adventure using pre-existing antagonists that, and sure, you can curate which ones are included, and in the text notate where which antagonist is used in which scene. That's fine, but you are, in a way, shooting yourself in your own foot, because what you're not doing is learning the basics of antagonist design, which will allow you to create more bespoke encounters, which will allow you to improve your ability to write, not even bespoke encounters, but just like standard encounters. If you know how an antagonist is built and how they work, you can throw stuff in that will allow that antagonist to do what they do better, or if you want to help the players out, to slightly weaken the antagonist, and to know which levers you can pull, which bits of the scale you can put your hand on. But also, you're not giving some people a reason to buy your product. If you are including bespoke antagonists, you are saying, hey, sure, you may not be interested in the adventure, but here are some monsters or whatever that you might be interested in. Now, obviously, depending on how much you're charging for the product, that may have a limited success. I'll be honest, these intro adventures, I have pay what you want. Financially, that is an extremely poor decision. I would not advocate for it unless you're in a very well-off place. But I am committed to my ideal of removing as many barriers to the hobby as possible. And so I'm trying to do like one air quote free adventure for every game line for Onyx Path Publishing, because they gave me this space, and I want to do what I can to help promote their games and make people's entry into their games easier. Now, technically, I already have a... Hang on, before I give you an untruth, did I make Begin Again pay what you want? Just double checking. I did. Cool. I did make Begin Again pay what you want title for the introductory Trinity Continuum core book. But here's the thing, chat. Here's the thing. I started writing this adventure, I think, around the time of the game jam. Just after the game jam. Well, just after, like 6 months after the game jam ended. So technically I'm under no obligation to do that, but I probably will because it's an intro adventure. And I've gone on at length about how to handle intro adventures. And I've been treating it as such. Point being, back to the point. I got sidetracked. I apologize. Yes. The more stuff that you add to an adventure, the more reasons you have for people to buy it who are looking for not adventures. Now, obviously, this is less of a thing for this adventure in particular because it's designed to be a short, simple intro scenario, teaching people the basics of Trinity Continuum Adventure, which has an exclamation mark on the end, hence the enunciation. But if you're just writing an adventure, the more value you can stuff into that adventure, the better. Obviously, monsters are an easy one. Maps is also an easy one. Pre-generated characters sometimes. Depends on how fast you want people to get into the game. Speaking from experience, I don't jibe well with pre-gens, but if people are doing like one-shots for conventions and things, having a folder for the pre-generated characters can be very useful. And obviously, if you are collaborating with someone else and there's a bit of there's design work that you're not such a fan of, you can work with them and they can do the design work you don't like. You can do the design work they don't like, and you can make as much value as possible in your product. And that is as corporate as I'm getting, because I hate myself for talking about it in those terms. But this is a show about writing community content, and if you are trying to make a go of it financially, I felt like I should give you that advice. I feel I should point out that there's basically no money in it, and you should probably focus on other areas of game design if you want to make a go of it as a career. But here we are. If you are trying to use homebrew content and community content as a stepping stone into the industry to become freelance or independent, knowing how enemy design works is fundamental to most role-playing games. Not every game, obviously. There are non-violent games out there, and those can be a joy to play. Those are a joy to play. Just my personal opinion. But a lot of games do require action against something with a stat block. And knowing how those stat blocks work in a variety of games will help you make your stat blocks better. So, the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to go scene by scene and figure out what needs a stat block and what doesn't. So, we start at the soiree. I remember that I will need partygoers and guards. Now, the guards... I'll be honest, I'll probably just say use Nazi guard, remove Nazi. Because I don't see the point in reinventing the wheel when I'm going to need some guards anyway. Partygoers, guards, staff. We'll need staff as well. I'm also going to arrange these to be in alphabetical order, but that will be after the fact, because that will just be easier for people to reference. Obviously, the partygoers and the staff probably not going to be antagonists, but having background character stat blocks is rarely a bad idea, particularly as it's so easy to make antagonists in the StoryPath system. And I think the last thing... I apologise. The last thing for scene 1 will be the spy themselves. Yep, certainly looks like it. Let me move that while I'm thinking about it. Okay, so that's scene 1. Now I'm done with the adventure, by the way. I'm not as beholden to word count. So that's nice. Scene 2, I don't believe has any need for stat blocks because it's an exploration scene. And as a reminder, leads into scene 1. A bit of an in media res opening and then a this is how you reach this point situation. Except the airfield will probably need the guards, so... Oh, a guard dog. Make sure it's the right heading. Back to the airfield. Yep. And then scene 3 will just be a whole bunch of Nazi guards. Sorry, I appreciate that I am not there's dead air, but I'm just trying to read quickly to ascertain exactly what I need. Yep, more guards, and then scientists and the Nazi commander, I believe. Officer, sorry. Technicians and scientists and non-combatants. I'll still include a block for them because it might be useful, but guard dog there. Scene 3. Officer. Scientist, sorry, and technician. Also just realized I made a... The Iron Tyrant rolls X fewer dice for its actions, but never specified X. That's a, you know, that's a draft, an editing issue. Hey Microsoft Word, you want me to hyphenate fore and armed so that the guards have 4 arms? You sure do. These words work best when connected with a hyphen. Do they though? Because it completely alters the meaning of the sentence. The guard. It completely alters the guards, actually. It gives them 2 extra arms, for that matter. And they lose their weapons. So I'm just trying to read the text to see if I intended to give the Iron Tyrant a health a stat block. I believe I did. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 snap blocks incoming. Cool. Who knows? There might be a 2 streams on this. Who knows? It won't be all 4, I assure you of that. To hit 99. Anyway, so scene 1, and now we decide what level of danger each thing presents. The StoryPath system separate as presented in the Trinity Continuum core rulebook, which you will need to run games of Trinity Continuum Adventure, as well as the Trinity Continuum Adventure book. Splits antagonist, categorizes antagonist by power level, medium threat, minor threat, moderate threat, major threat, and colossal threat. And the higher the threat, the more dice they roll in their actions, the higher their defense, the more health they get, etc. So, I'm going to say partygoers are minor threats. In fact, I'm going to make a note of all the minor threats first, because I can just copy-paste this text. They're non-combatants. They have dice rolls. They can act if they wish, but ultimately they won't be doing much. The staff will be a medium threat. Oh, you know what? Staff will be a minor threat as well. Hell yeah. The guards will be medium. Most things will be a medium threat. I'll be honest. The Iron Tyrant I'm categorizing as a moderate threat, purely because the officer can use it to gain benefits. And the idea is that they work together to be something that is greater than the sum of their parts. Which is why... Oh wait, no, never mind. You know what, let's have the Iron Tyrant as a major threat, why not? Guard dog. Medium. I don't know. Sure, we'll go with that. Right, I'm just trying to think if I've ever done a stat block that I can just copy paste for a Trinity Continuum game rather than having to type the whole thing out manually, because I don't like doing that if I can avoid it. And where would those be? I think I did some for Horrors of the Continuum. Maybe? Which, friendly reminder, I did a horror themed toolkit for Trinity Continuum for playing horror games in it. I think they were at the end. Oh god, I didn't do stat blocks. Why am I like this? I thought I had. Welp. That's unfortunate. Okay. I don't... I know I did some for Begin Again, but I think they were too... They weren't what I'm looking for. But it will have to do. Copy without the formatting, because the formatting will come in layout. A medium threat has a primary pool of 7, a secondary pool of 5, and a desperation pool of 3. They have 4 health, 3 defense. Use one of their action pools to determine their initiative, or just leave that as their desperation pool. Wait, they're guards. They should be okay. No, actually, guards should be fast on the draw, so I'm going to give them their primary pool for their initiative pool. They have 5 edge dots. I'll just put 5. I can't remember the alt code for a dot. Hang on, 1 second. I need this. Thank you. That's 5 edge dots on that, and we'll give them armed with that, and then a brief overview, just so I don't forget. So, guards, primary pool, shooting and survival. Well, shooting is fine because they're guards, they're armed with firearms. Let's go with, instead of survival, head on a swivel. And then secondary pool, intimidation works, and let's go with physical conditioning. So if they need to do melee, if they need to do chase sequence, it all kind of rolls into that, and then anything else they use 3. Edges. Are there any new edges in? Not immediately seeing any. So I'm going to go to the weapons side of things. They are armed with a... So, I guess notes will be... What I'll have to do is under... Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. In scene 3, I guess, I'll just put guards, use block from page whatever, but with the following changes. And that will reflect the fact that they're not just standard security, you know, they're Nazi guards. So the guards at the airfield will have a bolt-action military rifle. I need the equipment page. Because I'm going to do it this way. So that's page 125 for the pistol. Adventure! That's page 177 in Adventure. Ah, I done goofed. Nope. Nope. It's all coming. It's all falling apart, chat. Right. There we go. That's said 177 and Adventure. Got to remember to include the exclamation mark. And then 5 dots of edges. So edges are the little quirks, things that your character can do that aren't supernatural or beyond the realm of most people, let's say. Gifts are the quasi-supernatural superheroic abilities that the inspired from the core book and Daredevil's. 1 second. Sorry, inspired from Adventure can use to allow them to break the laws of physics in interesting and novel ways. However, these are guards. They're not doing anything like that. So let's just go with Danger Sense. Seems to be an obvious one. Allows them to roll to check for ambushes before they happen. Adrenaline spike. That is 3 of the 5 dots taken care of. And let's just go with Tough Cookie because that is 2 dots, and that takes care of all 5 dots. So we have a primary pool of 7 to represent their ability to shoot and be guards, a secondary pool of 5 to represent their physical training and their ability to intimidate others, and then everything else is called by the desperation pool. Their health is 4, their defense is 3. These are just set by the fact that they're a medium threat. And their initiative is 7 because, again, they're guards. They're supposed to be alert. Their edges lean into this and allow them to ignore injury conditions and damage. They have weapons. Guards are almost always Guards almost always work in tandem and are capable of small and guards almost always in tandem. Okay. Work in pairs and use each other to flank any attackers. They are committed to their job and rarely let unauthorized people past. There we go. So we've got stat block, and then just a little like, here's how they work on the battlefield and encounters, and here's a little thing of like, hey, this is what they do. This is a rough personality for them should you need to roleplay them in a pinch. And then we just copy this, and we do this. And minor threats, as I scroll through this PDF. So there are also minor characters, which the core rulebook includes information on, and you could easily use minor characters to represent partygoers. I am going to put this down here actually, because they're not armed. Trinity Continuum Core explains how minor characters work if that system is easier for you to keep track of. When portraying and rolling for partygoers. And then page number, that is page 140. Yep. You know what? Let's go the whole hog. These are just minor characters. Partygoers are minor characters. Trinity Continuum Core explains how they work. Individually and in groups. So, primary pool for a minor character is between 4 and 8. We're just going to set it at 6 because that's an easy number. We're going to clear these out, and we're going to have social drinking, person of culture. Secondary pools are half their primary pool. So that becomes 3. Then we give them some secondary pools. Let's go with something related to physical activity. Ooh, I apologize. Trained dancer. This went in I'm going to do square brackets. Untrained dancer. To cover both aspects. And expensive education. Desperation pool is half of the secondary pool. That's on 1. They have no health. If they take any injury, they are taken out immediately. Their desperation pool is their defense. So their defense becomes 1. Just making sure everything's working in OBS. Everything remains working in OBS. Do not gain edges or a source. And if they are not anomalies. Use their desperation pool as their defense and their initiative. So I'm just double checking things. I forgot to have enhancements. Whoops, I know I'd forgotten something. Medium threats gain 1 enhancement. And that goes here. That's just a flat enhancement that applies to all roles. Partygoers... We'll give them a +1 enhancement as well because of just... Oh, hang on. Standard equipment. Nah, they're wealthy. They'll get quality equipment, so they'll get 1 enhancement. And as mentioned, they don't get any health. Partygoers are here for a good time and largely want to talk about themselves and their interests. They can be used as used to colour the background of the scene or to introduce SGCs you want to include in future stories. Their inclusion here, their inclusion in this adventure is to be a faceless mass in the background of scene 1. Spy. Cool. Spy is a medium threat, so it keeps the same numbers as the guards. That is fine. Give it defense pool using it, initiative pool using its their secondary though, and we'll go with careful movement, social chameleon. I mentioned it before, I think, but when determining action pools, it's always useful to think of a narrative phrase that can cover multiple applications rather than just this is shooting, this is punching. Hence why physical conditioning was in the last one. I might reword shooting in editing, or I might decide no, that's just what they're good at. Because physical conditioning, as mentioned, covers athletics, endurance, martial arts, a whole bunch of things. Careful movement, social chameleon, light fingers. And left-handed spanner. Desperation pool 3, enhancement 1. Yep, we're all good there. Right, 5 dots of edges for a spy. Probably gonna have some social stuff going on. Now, it's also always important to, if you're putting an edge onto a stat block, make sure that it is something that they're going to use in the adventure. Obviously, if you're just planning ahead and just trying to provide something for people to use in whatever circumstance they want, you know, that's fine. But if you, with things like this where it's specifically designed to tell a self-contained story, and the story guide can use the stat blocks elsewhere if they want, but they're most relevant to this story, then obviously it's useful to make sure that whatever is on their stat block, they will get to use. So there's no point in having like a safe house for the spy, because they're only in it for one scene, maybe two. So it doesn't particularly matter. I'm going to include hair trigger reflexes, which is an enhancement on initiative, just in case a fight breaks out on the blimp. That puts us at 3 of 5 dots. Let's go with swift and ambidextrous, which gives us the other 2 dots. Notes, and they have a pistol and knife. I assume there's a pre-built knife available. Yes. Armed with a knife and a pistol. Both Trinity Continuum Core 125. Don't need both. Spy does everything they can to blend into the crowd and flees at every opportunity, using violence as a last resort. They are committed to their mission. Yeah, they are committed to their mission. Hopefully my microphone didn't pick up the loud noise that just happened outside. It sounded like the horn of a rig or something. They are committed to their mission. And will die before exposing all of its secrets. Or all of their secrets. And then the staff. I treat them as another party goer, actually. Well, they might get involved. We'll treat the staff as a minor threat, because they might get involved as a... Oh god, what's going on here? Word, why are you doing this to me? I know why. There we go. Because they might need to form a... Player characters might call upon them as allies in combat. That's what I was trying to say. Minor threats, sorry. They get a primary pool of 6. A secondary pool of 4. A desperation pool, of 2. 0 enhancement. 3 health, 3 defense. I'll give them the desperation pool as their initiative. And they get 4 edge dots. I'll just put 4 for now as a reminder. Primary pool. A job well done. And grin and bear it. Secondary pool, poker face. And no. I think you don't always need to have 2. I just like naming 2 because that gives a wide variety of things for the story guide character to do or to be able to do. But with a minor threat, I don't think they particularly need to have 4 things that they can do. Particularly as they probably won't need to do any of them. They get 4 dots, up to 4 dots of edges, and it is always up to. You don't have to spend all of them. My reasoning being for spending them most of the time is that It makes them a more viable threat. However, this is not a combat threat. They're not supposed to be a threat at all, so we don't need to give them all of the edges. I don't think they will need any social edges. Nope. Are there any applicable? And obviously, if there are no edges anyway that apply, you can't buy them. Particularly as most edges are focused on things that background characters probably not going to be involved in. Let's have... Whoop. I don't think they need edges. They're slightly stronger than a minor character in that they have health and defense and stuff, because just physical conditioning of doing their job, and because they may step in to help the players, player characters, but I don't think they particularly need to do more than that, so we're just going to leave the edges off. Staff aren't treated as minor characters. Sorry, 1 second. In case the characters call upon them for help. Oops. Staff are unlikely to allow the characters to enter staff-only areas. Unquestioned, but can be persuaded to look the other way. Okay, there we go. Alright, guard dog, medium threat. I know the guards are medium threat, so I'll just use the guard note, the guard stat block as a copy-paste thing. Hopefully I'm demonstrating why it's so useful just to be able to copy and paste. Rend. And sharp sensors. Secondary pool. Born to run. And well trained. Give them the initiative of their primary pool. That is fine. Keen sense is 1 dot per sense they have keen. Hearing and smell. So that's 2 dots right there. Swift is a 3rd dot. Then adrenaline spike is the 5th dot. Notes. Guard dogs are always paired with a guard. And unless the guard frees them, guard dogs are always paired with a guard and attached to a leash and lead and harness. Lead in it's just UK English for leash. We do kind of use them interchangeably, but here we are. That prevents them from moving beyond close range of the guard. Okay. Just looking at the time. I think... You know what, let's see if I can get all these done today. I've got half an hour left. Apologies for the late start, by the way. There was a small and unforeseen emergency. Although, I guess, if your emergencies are foreseen, they're less of an emergency. Nazi guard. Use the guard from page XX with the following changes. They are equipped with what body armor options are there? I think there's a flak jacket, right? Yeah. A flak jacket. Trinity Continuum Core, page 126, and their bolt action military rifle is replaced with... What did I have in the armory chat? Was it machine guns? Oh, any. Cool. Submachine guns, because that seems more like what a guard would carry on patrol. They are equipped with a flat jacket, blah blah blah. Adrenaline spike, danger sense, and tough cookie. Should I replace any of those? Could give them the cool under fire combat maneuver. Small unit tactics. That takes 2, however, so let us get rid of tough cookie. Here we are. Flying changes are equipped with that. Submachine gubs. They have the small unit tactics edge instead of tough cookie. And I'm just gonna... Nope. Microsoft Word, why are you like this? Just want to indent it so I stop indenting the first line word. Oh my god. There we go. So I know when I come to the layout that those are bullet points. The bullet points don't transfer over very well to the program I use for layout. So I try to make notes for myself in other ways to know, hey, this is where that should be. What else did the guards have? Adrenaline spike and danger sense. Kind of want to make another change to it, but I mean, having danger sense really works for guards, I guess. Adrenaline spike is a 2-dot edge, I believe. Yes, so I'd have to find 2 other dots somewhere else. The small units tactics edge instead of tough cookie. Tough cookies also too. Yeah, it is. small unit tactics, fast draw, and trigger reflexes, edges instead of adrenaline spike. And tough cookie. So adrenaline spike and tough cookie make the first guards more resilient. These guards are more able to deal damage with their guns, but at the cost... I mean, they're all wearing armor, but at the cost of being less resilient. Because there are more Nazi guards in the adventure, having them die faster is not a bad thing, because that just keeps things flowing smoothly. The worst thing any game can do is get bogged down in combat, and this is one way you can alleviate that. Just give things less armor, less health, etc. Hopefully that'll make sense. The Nazi officer is a medium threat. Oops. Primary pool. Trick shooter and... Thank you for the resub, Hot Dog Wizard. We appreciate it. Iron Edict to be like to represent their command ability. Hopefully you are having a good Monday. I'm going to assume morning, based on Onyx Path's usual demographic. And secondary pool being their Iron Will and their ability to getting bogged down in combat is vital. It really, really is. Until, you know, set piece. At that point, then you can get bogged down. But that's kind of the point of the set piece, usually. Iron Will and Strategic Mind. Desperation pool 3, enhancement is 1 because they're a medium threat. Their defense is 3. Let's put their initiative at 5, and they get 5 dots. I'm kind of tempted to let them have Tough Cookie. Tough Cookie, by the way. Where did we go? So I don't misinform you. Tough Cookie increases the difficulty of the inflict damage stunt by 1, because the character always counts as wearing soft armor. Hard armor gives you extra injury conditions, or just health if you're an antagonist. So that's what I was talking about, making them more resilient. The first guards, it's harder to hit them, and Adrenaline Spike allows them to ignore. Via interpretation, because they don't get injury conditions, it will allow them to ignore 1 lost point of health. I should probably add that clarification, actually. Ignore the first point. Sometime werewolf storyteller will steal ideas from any system to keep combat interesting. Hey, that's fair. Let's say ignore the last point. No. If reduced to 0 health, make an immediate action and then die. Because again, they don't have they don't have injury conditions. So this is kind of the best way to replace that, using the edge system. Not all edges are suitable for antagonists, but some of them you can retool slightly to reflect a similar thing. I might reword that, obviously, when I get around to doing this properly, but that's what it is for now. Anyway, we'll go with... always prepared, because they're a strategic genius. They're a strategic officer, right? They plan for contingencies, so if they're always expecting a fight. That is a 1 dot. I've got 4 dots remaining. Let's do Iron Will. Oh god, I've got no dots. I need dots. I apologize. Hopefully I did manage to turn the microphone off for that sneeze. Give me the dot. I need the dot. Boop boop. There we go. Iron Will 2. That's 3 dots. Dankeschön, Zarpas. Also welcoming. And then I guess small unit tactics. Oh, right. That's better. 85 dots. There is a cat in this room with me, so if I get distracted, it's because she's doing crime. The officer uses their secondary pool and small unit tactics edge to command those, to order those, there we go, those under their command into advantageous positions. They lead the project and it'll be difficult to convince them to share what they know. They should also have a gun. That seems like something a Nazi officer would carry. So we'll go with this. The only sword option is a katana. So I guess they'll have a knife and a pistol. Armed with a knife and a pistol, but we'll also give the pistol, where is it? The automatic tag. Just to spice it up a bit. Hey, Susie lol, how you doing? Welcome in. I'd appreciate Sib, but bro is fine. Sorry, keep checking for crime. Strange cat noises. Why not take the katana and call it a saber? See, I did think about that, but then I realized that they'll be in a robot dinosaur, and I don't. And while sabers are cool, the robot dinosaur I don't want to take away from that. And no worries, Susie lol. You don't know. My pronouns aren't on, you know, aren't on screen anyway. I apologize if it came across as overly harsh. Right, the scientists are non-combatants, so we'll treat those as minor characters as we did with the partygoers. Whoop. I deleted the scientists from existence. Primary pool. You know what, let's just, because they're here to do one thing and one thing only. Robotic engineering. And secondary pool. What would they do? They're here to make dinosaurs. I guess paleontology. Knowledge, wide-ranging knowledge base. Might not come up, but it might. Who knows? And it's hyphenating. And let's also go with is he making a search for a convention? Sorry, because I'm not American, so I don't know so much sentence in English because I'm Brazilian. No, that's fine. I mean, I'm English. I'm not American either. This is a show. Sorry, I need to blow my nose. This is a show about writing community content for Onyx Path's community content programs. So this is content for... This is an introductory adventure for Trinity Continuum Adventure. I'm not doing the exclamation mark joke. For clarity, for sake of clarity. And I've written the whole adventure, and now I'm just going through making the stat blocks for the antagonists. I was going to do something to tie in with curiosity, I guess, but I don't really see much point. Technobabble has some slight social applications. Desperation Pool there. Enhancement 2, because they have the top of the line. Engineering equipment. Probably specify for the partygoers as well. That should all be hyphenated because it's all qualifying engineering equipment. They don't get health. They get defensive 1. They get initiative 1. They get no edges. Scientists are included for a few reasons. 1, to repair the Iron Tyrant. 2, to act as cover for the combatants in the scene. And 3, to act as a source of information for future stories. And then the staff was a minor threat, so I will take this. For the technician. 10 minutes chat, I believe. One track mind to help with like coercion but also knowledge. My cat's being weird. It's like a homebrew. Sorry for so many questions. No, please do ask questions. Yes, this is... So I'm using a game that Onyx Path Publishing publish. And they allow people to write content, so adventures or magic item collections or characters for their games. There are some rules you have to follow. But they allow you to write for those games and put them on Drive-Thru RPG to make money, to sell. This specifically, as mentioned, is for Trinity Continuum Adventure, so it will be going up onto the StoryPath Nexus. There are a couple of different platform sub-websites, if that's easy to understand, for a lot of their game lines. One Track Mind... Skilled Hands. Work through the pain. No enhancement. Health is 3. Initiative there. Yeah, initiative 2 is fine. 4 dots of edges. I'll include Lightning Calculator, although it is admittedly very unlikely to come up, but it seems to fit. And Ms. Fix-It adds Desperation Pool, because the edge itself adds a second skill as enhancement. Obviously, these don't have skills, so the Desperation Pool works as a substitute there. 8 minutes remain. What do the technicians do in this scene? Yeah, they're just trying to repair the thing as well. The technicians do everything they can to keep the Iron Tyrant in working order for the Nazi officer. They are unarmed, but enough tools are lying around that they count as carrying. I guess it'd be a knife, but maybe with a damage change. Yeah, let's go from a knife, but it deals blunt damage. Page 125. Make that bold. Whoop. Okay. Bro, the unique RPG system is resilient called Paranormal. Its horror investigation system is cool because I've ritualistic things have common things for an old RPG. Oh, that sounds cool. If you're interested in horror and investigation, Curseborn by Onyx Path Publishing, I feel like I should promote their games while I'm here. Yeah, a knife. It's just like a small thing that you can pick up and wield. Thinking like a wrench. Mechanically would be basically the same as a knife in this game, except it would just do blunt instead of edged damage. Right, 6 minutes left for the Iron Tyrant, I believe. What did I define this as? Major throw. Cool. Blood effect, bleeding. It's not really a thing in this game. The closest you could get, I guess, is aggravated, where an injury takes twice as long to heal. Mostly because most characters will have, like, 5 health. That was a number I pulled out of my brain. It could be wrong. I don't have time right now to double check. I also have no reason to end exactly in 5 minutes because there's nothing on the channel until tomorrow. So I do have a little bit of leeway. Yeah, only 5. This isn't as combat focused as other RPGs are. I keep scrolling through the document in the wrong way. Major threat. 9, 7, 5, 4, 6 health, 4 defense. 7 initiative. And 7 edge dot. Sorry if things if I say something wrong, forgive you. No worries. No, it's all good. Can't learn if you don't ask. Where are my dots, chat? Where did they go? Oh no, I've lost them. There we go. So primary pools are obviously going to be combat focused. This is a robotic weapon, so we'll give it both a ranged and a melee attack as its primary pool. That's not how you spell caliber in the slightest. Large caliber gun, large caliber machine gun, and metal jaws. And secondary pool of automatic sensors. I mean, it's a robot dinosaur. It's not going to use social skills, is it? Let's have metal body just to help with things that are like, I'm going to move this individual. Desperation pool of 5, health 6, defense 4. Yep, that was all good there. Right, so it could have anomaly powers. Are there any suitable anomaly powers? Natural weapons. But I might just say this weapon cannot be disarmed when I go for the equipment under notes. So I think that's fine. I will be giving this thing scale as well. I think that's a thing in Trinity Continuum. I know so many games that I forget what's in which game. It is! Look at that. 74 to 75. I should probably write these down now, actually. Notes. The Iron Tyrant has... I guess it's just a size scale of 2, right? Size and strength scale of 2. Leave its speed at normal. Yep, size and strength is alphabetical. The Iron Tyrant is... How is this phrased? Size scale 2. Cool. Size scale 2 and strength scale 2. Just in case that becomes important, it's more just around moving the Iron Tyrant more than anything. Unwillingly. Oh, actually. See, the thing is, if I accurately represent this, because it probably should be scale 3, in all fairness. The player characters will have no way of dealing with it. Unless I give it a weakness of some kind. Well, actually, no, if I just do size and strength scale 3, that will affect... What will that affect? Trying to move it... Yeah, Stephanus, I think I have a weakness in mind. So I'll get to that in a moment. I'm just trying to think through the ramifications of this. So size scale 3 and strength scale 3. Size scale 3 is going to affect it being moved involuntarily. I think that's kind of really all I think scale normally applies to. And strength scale 3 would apply to just acts of feats of strength. Not its weapons. Those are covered by tags. So I think that's fine. I'm going to do its edges, and then we'll get on to its weakness. And its weapon loadout, for that matter. I think as it's a robot, Lightning Calculator makes sense, although it will never use it. So we'll go with Danger Sense instead. So that's 6, and Direction Sense, 5. Tough Cookie brings that down to 3. Forceful Martial Arts 2 takes that down to 1. And now I need to move Forceful Martial Arts. Dang it, I've got one left, chat. Covert? Is the Iron Robot covert? Hair trigger reflexes. I mean, it's designed as a weapon, right? So that kind of makes sense. That's not where H goes. You fool. The alphabet, it escapes you. Okay, down Tyrant scale 3, strength size scale 3, and strength scale 3. That's fine. Due to the nature of its construction, the Iron Tyrant. Oh, I also need weapons. I'll just put weapons here so I don't forget. Due to the nature of its construction, the Iron Tyrant is capable of both being piloted and operating independently. When being piloted, the pilot When the alphabet fails, you always have pictographic writing systems. Amazing. I can forget where pictures belong. The Iron Tyrant. And the pilot share a turn. Pilot benefits. And the Iron Tyrant's health. The pilot uses. There we go. You know what? I'm just overcomplicating this. When being piloted, the Iron Tyrant and the pilot share a turn. And the pilot uses the Iron Tyrant stat block. When operating independently, the Iron Tyrant doesn't benefit from its enhancements. So ordinarily, the pilot obviously has their own stat block. They get into the Iron Tyrant. They use the Iron Tyrant stat block as is. When there's no pilot, the Iron Tyrant doesn't benefit from the automatic 4 enhancement on every roll. This is going to be slightly offset by the size and strength scales if they become available, because they do add enhancement to rolls anyway, so I think that's a nice way of handling it. It makes it... It's still dangerous if you attack it without the pilot in it, but it is... not as difficult to deal with. I'm probably going to add a caveat. I just need to check some weapon tags. I think there's one that applies. Doesn't do quite what I thought it did. So, what about this tag? Oh god, where is it? Chat, where is it? It doesn't. Also, going back to the scale issue, there is a crane in the scene that will help deal with the scale, I've just remembered. Uses the Iron Tyrant stat block. If a character chooses the critical damage stunt, they can apply any damage from that attack to the pilot's health instead of the Iron Tyrant's. It's unlikely, because you need at least, what, 4 successes, but it's possible. So you can snipe the pilot if you are good enough. Obviously, if they die, the Iron Tyrant gets worse. I think I'm good with that. Obviously, some of this will... Oh, weapons. Right, I need weapons. Well, it has machine gun. With enhancement 3. Iron Tyrant is equipped with machine gun, with large caliber machine guns. which use the machine gun template on page 177 of Trinity. Continuum. I know I should end because I'm overrunning, but I'm so close to being finished with this adventure. With the addition of I don't want to stack enhancement because if I give the machine gun enhancement as well, let's just do +1 enhancement. So that if it's using the large caliber machine guns, it's at 7 enhancement, which is a lot. And the aggravated tag. And it's Jaws. Please, I want the M dash, thank you. Which use the katana. Trinity Continuum Core. Page 125, I believe. Yes, page 125. And have the... Oh, right. Worn, I think, is the can't be disabled. Yeah. I have the aggravated. That's not high spell aggravated. And worn tags. Cool. Right. I think I'm good. Obviously, as I said, some of this may change during editing, but there is an adventure with story guide characters, and I've briefly discussed antagonist design. Whether or not you found that useful, I don't know. Please do let me know in the comment section below. If you've come in towards the end of the stream and are intrigued by the idea of the show, if you are not subscribed to twitch.tv/the Onyx Path, you will have to wait a week to watch it as a video on demand. After that week is up, you can watch it here on Twitch, or if you swing by youtube.com/@comradebubbles, which is my YouTube channel, you can watch it there. Onyx Path were kind enough to allow me to keep this show for my YouTube channel. This is probably the last episode in the series, a nice 10-episode season, whichever you prefer. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. As I mentioned at the start of the show, best place to go for any updates on Onyx Path projects are the Monday meeting notes. I am clicking on all of the wrong things. There we go. And the most important salient points, whatever. The next crowdfunding campaign coming on Thursday, the 16th of July at 2 p.m. Eastern, is the Lair of the Rat Kings for Realms of Pugmire. I contributed monster design to that, both converting what was, I think, all that was left from first edition that needed conversion into Realms, as well as some bespoke stat blocks for the titular Rat Kings. And again, I believe it's some of my best design work. And the product on sale this week is The Realms of Pugmire Unleashed, which is a player's guide for the Realms of Pugmire. It does have some guide information in it, but it's mostly a player's guide. I think that's it. So yeah, if you're not following if you're not following the Twitch channel, please think about following. You'll get alerts when we go live. The next show on the channel is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, and there's a Curseborn actual play, Accursed in Boston. If you've liked the show but would like to see more of a practical application of it, Guiding the Path at 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday is how to run StoryPath Ultra games. And then if you are intrigued by the system I've been talking about, Trinity Continuum Adventure has an actual play on Monday evenings at 9 p.m. and that is called Air Circus. I usually stream on alternate Tuesdays. However, the plan I've got for the next season of the show, it will make it a very, very long season, so hopefully you're in it for the long haul. And 2, I might need a week or 2 off to prepare fully for it. I've got some ideas. There might be some community involvement. We'll see. But keep an eye out on... I mean, I'll be talking about my social media. That is just... I believe there is a link available. Yeah. If you go to my card page, my social media accounts are linked on that, and I'll be talking about it there. Maybe Onyx Path will talk about it. I don't know. Things need to be worked out and worked through and thought about. But hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have any questions, I'll be around for a few minutes after the post-roll starts. But I will be taking a short break and then heading over to twitch.tv/ComradeBubbles, where I'll be doing some video gaming things and just unwinding and to help my brain be less mush. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. As ever, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay wholesome. Much love to you all out there, wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.